Greetings, Mtwagazi. Today we'll be discussing about the program that is being initiated by the President of Zimbabwe, particularly roping in the chiefs to talk about the gukurahundi issue. We have Nomagugu, who is the chairperson of the gukurahundi genocides for survivors. I think I got it right there. But you are there, you are here, you will correct me if I'm wrong. We welcome you, Makuma.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. Thank you for having me on the program. Greetings to all of Mtwagazi all over the world, and greetings to the global community, especially those who are concerned with genocides. My name is Nomagugu. I'm chairperson of an organization called Gukurahundi Genocide Survivors for Justice. We are based in South Africa.
All right. No, thanks very much. Yeah, as I said, that today we'll be discussing about the issue of gukurahundi. We know that the President of Zimbabwe is initiating a program which is being spearheaded by the chiefs to talk about the gukurahundi, or to find resolution or solution about the debacle of gukurahundi. As an organization, you think a lot about these things. So we are happy to have you again on Matulan Broadcasting Corporation. Yeah, what are your thoughts about the program?
Oh, well, to begin with, we find it very, very concerning, quite disturbing that a program of such magnitude is being spearheaded by our comrade President Mnangagwa, the President of Zimbabwe, who happens to be one of the prime suspects, one of the prime perpetrators of the gukurahundi genocide. So we feel like there's a lot that the perpetrators intend to want to come to light. This is why they've started spearheading this program. Otherwise, it would have been done in a manner that the survivors and the victims and the families, because we've gone generations now from gukurahundi survivors. I think we're on to the third, or maybe most likely the fourth generation of the gukurahundi survivors. Those are the people who are supposed to come up with the prescription to say how they want the program to be carried out. Now, it's quite disturbing to hear that the president, who happens to also be a perpetrator of the same genocide, being the one partaking and being the one leading at the front for the hearings. The other thing that you notice that they only talk about the survivors, because remember, for true peace and justice to happen around gukurahundi, there has to be narratives from both the survivors and the perpetrators. Now, this program speaks only to the victim, the survivor. It doesn't say a thing. It's very, very silent on the perpetrator. So we can't look at just one side of the coin and leave the other. Both sides of the coins have to be flipped and looked at thoroughly for the program to go on smoothly and for Zimbabwe to attain true peace over gukurahundi.
Okay, so according to what you are saying, is that the program should have been arranged differently. However, we know it is going ahead. So what do you think should happen, as we know that it is going ahead?
Yes, we know, and unfortunately with a state that's as repressive as Zimbabwe, there's virtually nothing that the voices of dissent can do or say to stop the program. But it's a pity that he gets to use the traditional leaders who are also victims of the genocide. They're supposed to be with those who are supposed to be saying their narratives as well, not them leading from the front. So there's nothing that we can do to stop the program will watch from the sidelines, but we hope that Mnangagwa will come to his senses and try and rope in the perpetrator. That's the first thing. And secondly, the other thing that worries us a lot is that he's concentrating only on Matabeleland, yet gukurahundi devastated both Matabeleland and the Midlands province. He's not saying anything about the Midland province. So maybe he's got a bone to pick with Matabeleland. I don't know, because how on earth does he leave out the Midlands province when there's documentation by the CCJ's JP and the legal project center to the effect that there were matters that happened to the people in Midlands, and he's not saying anything about it. And even the traditional leadership of the Midlands province is very quiet on that. But coming back to our own traditional leaders here in Matabeleland, we have to remember that today they are employed by the government of Zimbabwe. So they are civil servants in Zimbabwe. So if they are told to work on a task, they really don't have much power to say, no, I cannot do this. So they just will have to do whatever they're being ordered to do. But we just pray that with Mnangagwa spearheading this whole thing, when he spearheads this whole thing, there will be two narratives of the people. People won't be subjected to the factor of fear that's normally rife in Zimbabwe. That's the first thing. And the second thing is, we are asking Mnangagwa, we humbly ask him to please rope in the perpetrator. Can he himself come and stand on the podium, and we need to hear his narrative as the perpetrator for gukurahundi.
Okay, so from what you are saying, after the whole process, your expectations in terms of the outcome is not very positive.
No, not at all. Let's not forget that when gukurahundi happened, a lot of people ran away from their homelands in Matabeleland and in the Midlands province. They ran away some went to neighboring countries, some went to South Africa, some are in Botswana. They're scattered all over the world. Some are abroad, some are in the UK, some are in the USA. So now when Mnangagwa says, if he truly is being authentic about this program being done to find true justice and peace, why then is he only concentrating on the Zimbabwean constituency? We've written letters to the effect that, can you please also look into the survivors who are not in the country, those who ran away, because there is a huge bigger constituency of gukurahundi victims or survivors outside the borders of Zimbabwe than they are in the country at the moment.
Okay, yeah. You have said something which is very, very important, because we know that during gukurahundi time, many people ran to Botswana, some to South Africa. As you say, some maybe UK, USA. And you are saying this program is not involving these people. So
no,
as an organization, how do you think these people can be involved?
We've tried to do what we call regional advocacy, whereby we've spoken, or we've written rather, to embassies, different embassies. Like we here based in South Africa, we've written to a number of embassies in South Africa, and we've also written to the African Union, we've written to the SADC region to say, can they please help us get word through to Mnangagwa, because it's difficult to even get through to Mnangagwa himself. I've written to the Parliament of Zimbabwe, but all my correspondence has gone one way. I've never received any response from that end. Because what we need to do is we need to advocate for these victims or survivors who are not within Zimbabwe at the moment, who are outside the borders of Zimbabwe, because their narratives too matter. Their narratives too are very important. We cannot only look at the people who are on the ground at home, because to begin with, the people who are on the ground are likely not to bring out all the gory details of the operation because they don't want to be victimized at the end of the day. But the people who are outside the borders of Zimbabwe can say whatever they want to say because there's a distance between them and the repressive regime of Zimbabwe. Though Mnangagwa and his goons have tentacles that are far-reaching, but it will be easier to speak without any fear when we are outside the borders of Zim than when we are inside. So we say since gukurahundi was done by the government of Zimbabwe and they were using the resources of the state. Remember, most of the resources are coming from Matebelele, the same region that experienced gukurahundi to the west. They use the resources of the state to carry out those atrocities. Why not use the same resources to try and make either you start up hybrid stations for the hearings in these countries where the gukurahundi survivors are, or make means for the survivors to travel to Zim to say their narratives and then they travel back. Yes, I'm saying we certainly hope and pray that these embassies that we've been reaching out to, writing to, one or two of them will be in a position to sit down or rather reach through to Mnangagwa to say this is a concern coming from the victims or the survivors who are not within the country at the moment. How then do we go ahead with addressing these people, these constituents that does not reside in Zimbabwe? We just pray that at some point we're going to reach at that.
Okay, all right. You spoke about people speaking without fear, but do you think people are safe to express their deeply held views or experiences? Is there a mechanism that the government is putting in place to protect people?
I don't think there is. I honestly do not think there is such a mechanism. It's never safe to talk about gukurahundi anyway. Anyway, it's never safe to talk about the government of Zimbabwe in any form whatsoever. It's never safe, despite, regardless of the fact that you are close to them or very far away from them. It's never been safe. But with gukurahundi, we are saying, hey, safa kudala, man. Safa kudala, safa besibulala ngama 1980s. Yini okusele, ongasikufa yini kanti.
Okay.
I safa kudala, akasibulala siqede futhi, akasibulala like a million times, really. He killed us a long time ago.
You spoke about involving both the perpetrator and the victim. We know the victims, I think we know them. And who are the perpetrators?
Emmerson Mnangagwa to begin with. The current president of Zimbabwe. I'm going to name just a few, alive and dead. Emmerson Mnangagwa, the current president of Zimbabwe, he was then the state security minister then when gukurahundi happened. There's a number of statements that he put out there to the effect that they are going to deal with the people from Matebelele. Robert Mugabe, his predecessor, was one of the prime perpetrators. The current vice president, Constantine Chiwenga, who was then the commander of one brigade, which was in Bulawayo, they used to provide logistic support to the gukurahundi when they came to do raids in Bulawayo. We talk about the current king in the UK, King Charles, who came to Zimbabwe, I think it was 1982, 1983, and he downplayed the role of gukurahundi. There's a lot of them, the likes of Margaret Thatcher, the late, who helped train the 5th Brigade by providing support using the British Military Training Academy. We have the government of South Africa. The government of South Africa, then the apartheid government of South Africa. But unfortunately, what happens is whoever comes into power will still carry on the sins of their predecessors. So it Gukurahundi sits squarely again on the shoulders of the government of South Africa when they came in with their super ZAPU, and a lot of devastation was done by those people pretending to be the dissidents. And
okay, all right. The traditional leaders, you said the traditional leaders from the Midlands are not part of this program.
No, they're not.
Do you know why? What could be the reasons behind?
I've been trying to find out, and I haven't gotten the answer at the moment. My wild guess would be that, remember when Gukurahundi happened, it happened on a political and an ethnic scale.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Almost all of Matebeleland was inhabited by the Ndebele-speaking people, and who happened to be the strong supporters of Dr. Joshua Mkabogongomo's PF ZAPU. So on a political scale, they wanted to obliterate ZAPU. Obliterating ZAPU being the political party, and also obliterating the ethnic group that was supporting ZAPU at that time, which was the people from the Ndebele-speaking people. Then when you go to the Midlands, it's a mixture of two different tribes. And we happen to have more of the Shona tribe than the Ndebele tribe is. So my wild guess will be that they don't want to involve the Shona people from the Midlands to be part of this, because Gukurahundi happened at a national scale. It was a national operation, and this initiative that is being done by Mnangagwa is also a national initiative. You would ask yourself why this whole thing is not happening in Harare. Even when you look at the newspapers, it's only the newspapers from Bulawayo that are reporting on Gukurahundi. All the newspapers from Harare are silent on that. So you can see already the polarity in this whole process. It's not going to bear the fair results that it's supposed to.
And Mnangagwa is from the Midlands. Do you think that has any effect on why he didn't want to involve the traditional leaders from the Midlands?
Yes, really, because for him to set up this whole exercise, this whole commission, he would have, if he wanted to be very, very legit about this whole thing, he would have started at his own home province. This is where the whole thing was supposed to have started. But now, if he's leaving his home province of Midlands, and then coming, because there were atrocities, Gukurahundi atrocities that happened in Kwekwe, where he comes from. So now he leaves that whole place. I don't know what he wants to say. Is he trying to say that people from that place or people from that province never served the brand of the 5 Brigade? Because they did.
You said Gukurahundi was a national issue, and addressing it should take that shape and form. Let's look at the ordinary people. If you talk to some of the people, let's say, who come from Mashona land or Manika land, they say, no, we didn't know about Gukurahundi. ZANU PF just did it without telling us. So, being a national issue, as you said, how can the ordinary people from Mashona land, how can they be involved in this?
First, by use of the state media, television, radio, newspapers. All of the state media should be involved, actively involved in dissemination of information about what happened during the 5 Brigade operation in the early to the late 1980s. That's the first thing, because the government of Zimbabwe is in control of the state media. so they can use it willy-nilly to educate if they really want this thing to happen. They can use it. They can use the state media, especially the radio and TV, because it's not so many people who read newspapers, but almost everyone listens to the radio. Almost everyone who's got a TV set watches TV, at least on a daily basis. If there could be a slot, even if it's 10 minutes, 15 minutes, if there could be a slot on radio or TV about Gukurahundi, and a slot that speaks the truth about Gukurahundi, what happened when Zimbabwe attained independence, and the steps that are being done to address it. Maybe that will be the first thing. I've met also my fellow Shona brothers and sisters from Mashonaland and these other provinces who profess not to know anything about Gukurahundi. It could be true, but remember when Gukurahundi happened, when questions were asked, would see what is a dissident? The Shona people reply that a dissident Mundere. So a dissident is a Ndebele speaking person. So yes, well, we cannot put them all in one blanket to say they all knew. There is a high possibility that those who are saying they didn't know are telling us the truth. But can the government of Zimbabwe then use its resources, use its media to try and disseminate information on Gukurahundi? What happened then, and the steps they are taking to have it redressed?
Okay, yeah, because I think if there will be genuine unity in the country, it should also be encouraged at grassroots level. Of course, if you are saying using something like media to educate people, I think that will work. Yeah.
Yes, not only the media again. It's high time we had Gukurahundi being taught in schools from primary level. We've been crying about this for years now, for decades now. And the regime of Zimbabwe is always turning a blind ear. It has to be in the curriculum, in the history curriculum of the schools from primary level, maybe right up to tertiary. We need to learn about Gukurahundi. It's all its bad things and whatever came out of it. It has to be included in the curriculum. They can't keep telling about the first Chimurenga War, the second Chimurenga War, the third Chimurenga War, when they don't want to say anything about Gukurahundi. It also has to be included in the history curriculum.
But the problem is they say it was a conflict. So if children are taught that Gukurahundi was a conflict, doesn't that sanitize it?
It does. It does, because to begin with, Gukurahundi was never a conflict.
Yeah.
In 1979, there's a video, before Zimbabwe even attained independence, there was a video doing rounds in 1979 whereby Robert Mugabe was saying, we shall call this year the year of Gukurahundi. That was in 1979. And Zimbabwe attained independence in 1980. So this thing, they had planned it many years before we even attained independence. After the split of ZAPU and the subsequent formation of ZANU, I think this is when they started toying around, because you could even hear from the utterances of the late Edson Zobo to say, we decided to do this thing a long time ago before we even came out of the bushes. So they knew they were going to perpetrate mass murders on the people of Matabeleland. They knew they were going to deal in some way with the people of Matabeleland the way in a manner they wanted to. So now, if they say it was a conflict of who? You can't send out a crack force to deal with defenseless, innocent villagers who have done nothing to you, and to say it's a conflict. Who's in conflict with who here? Because the people from Matabeleland, the innocent villagers from Matabeleland, were not in conflict with anyone. They were just seated at their homes, minding their own lives. And then Mnangagwa and Mugabe and them unleashed, and the government of North Korea unleashed this crack force to deal with the the people from Matebeleland. This is why I said, if it has to go to the state media, or if it has to go into the history books, we have to ensure that whatever information is being disseminated from those mediums is information that speaks to the truth of how gukurahundi happened and why it happened, because it will be sanitizing it and sort of giving it the reason why it had to happen the way it happened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it's okay.
Yes. The other thing, because you were asking how we can educate our fellow Shona brothers and sisters about gukurahundi. Yes, let's look at the holiday calendar, Zimbabwe's holiday calendar. I want to believe firmly that we need to have a national day of mourning or a national gukurahundi day. On the day gukurahundi was unleashed, I think it was unleashed on the 20th of January. So on that particular day, it has to be either we call it gukurahundi day or you call it National Day of Mourning, but people have to know that we are mourning the loss of lives that was started on this particular day by our very own government.
Yeah, you brought up this idea of involving the people of Matebeleland who are outside of the country. I call them the forgotten constituents in these proceedings. Yeah, but I'm just wondering whether there is anything that the people can do themselves to put pressure or to make their plight known. Because I know you as an organization, you are trying your best to pressure the government. But what can the people do?
Maybe with the people who, the forgotten constituents that you alluded to, we need to organize ourselves as the forgotten constituency. We need to organize ourselves and become formidable forces wherever we are. If there is the forgotten constituency in the UK has to organize themselves and become a formidable force, the forgotten constituency in South Africa do the same all over the world. We create these branches that become very, very formidable, that become a force to reckon with. And then when we have such things coming to the fore, we can start off by having maybe a mass march, whereby we're going to go to, like if we're in South Africa, we go to the embassy of Zimbabwe to hand out a petition to say, we know that this thing is going to take place. Have you forgotten about us? If you've forgotten about us, we are reminding you that we're still alive and we need our stories to be told. So it has to begin with us, the constituency that's not within Zimbabwe, to organize ourselves and have mechanisms to put pressure on the government of Zimbabwe.
Okay, yeah. You said the traditional leaders are victims themselves, but they are asked to carry out such an important task. And you said they get some benefits from the government. I'm not sure whether they are employed by the government. Is this program meant to insult the people, or is a genuine attempt at redressing the issue of gukurahundi?
How does it become genuine when you are looking at just one side of the coin to begin with? And I think really, to begin right from the beginning, he's lost it. At least he would have said, we are looking at the gukurahundi survivors, and we're also looking at the perpetrators as well. It's not genuine to begin right from the onset. It's gone haywire. But again, I don't know, but I'm thinking the traditional leaders fall under don't they fall under the Ministry of Local Governance? I'm not really certain, but they have to be under some government ministry. But okay, that as it may, we can just leave it. look at our traditional leaders today. Their fathers. Let's look at Chief Mapigwa. Chief Mapigwa was killed by the 5th Brigade when they were coming from Chief Committee's, I think, yes, Chief Menye's was funeral. They were killed by the 5th Brigade. Now, Mnangagwa comes to say, can you preside over this exercise? The same exercise that killed your father. Now you are going to sit there and be chairperson of that whole thing. How insulting is that?
What would you say to President Emmerson Mnangagwa about this program that he has initiated now?
I'm saying to him, Emmerson Dambuzo Mnangagwa, listen to us. Take what we're saying to you to heed. There is a gukurahundi constituency that does not reside within the borders of Zimbabwe. Please make sure that you involve them in this exercise that you started. Secondly, we can tell that this exercise is nothing but a window dressing exercise. You are trying to run away, Mnangagwa, from your partaking in the gukurahundi atrocities, from your being one of the front runners in perpetrating the genocide. Now you want to be seen to the whole world to be doing something positive about gukurahundi. Yet what you're doing is to try and sweep the whole exercise under the carpet. We are watching. And the world is not stupid. The universe has never been stupid. One day, all this thing is going to turn around. Whether we are Pila, Noma Ushonil. Namhlanje we are talking about Robert Mugabe. He's long gone. But when we talk about gukurahundi, we always bring his name. You too, even when the natural processes take place, know that we will fight, our children will fight, and their children's children will fight for justice for gukurahundi. We look at the first genocide that happened, I think it was Aman. And today we're still getting reparations for that, the genocide that was done on the people of Turkey by the Ottoman Empire. Today, there's still reparation that is taking place. It's something that happened more than a century ago. So Mnangagwa, you too should not think you are clever by doing this exercise. Stop this whole window dressing exercise and do things the right way. Let us just leave us the survivors of the genocide to map our own way on how we want this whole exercise to go to happen. You cannot, you as a person, as a perpetrator, be the victim, be the judge, be the jury. You're taking 4 stands at one point. No, it doesn't happen that way. Let us, the survivors, we need to sit down. We need a round table with you to sit down and tell you how we want this exercise to happen.
Ayisibongile kakhulu dadewethu. Siyathemba ukuthi bazozwa lapha bakhona. Bengaze benze ngana bezwa, but we know ukuthi this information will be there for eternity, and they will end up hearing. They cannot ignore this issue. This issue has to be addressed and resolved once and for all, but in a proper way, in a respectful way. Ayisibongile kakhulu, siyathemba ukuthi ngokuzayo masikucela ukuthi uze sizoxoxa nawe emsakazweni eMathweni Broadcasting Corporation uzoza njalo. Sibongile kakhulu.
Ayabonga mnewethu. Yabo.